Well, hello. Welcome to another special edition of Zombie Apocalypse Diaries. Today is 4 July 2016. Some of you might think that's a special day. 240 years ago, some documents were written you need to really familiarize yourself with on a more, on a better basis. The first of those documents is called these days the Wealth of Nations. I think it's the Treatise on the Generation of Wealth of Nations or something like that. Anyway, it's a document by Adam Smith that was written in 1776. Forms a foundation for capitalism. You ought to read it because it talks about how slavery is necessary. Not directly, it implies it. Read just the first page. It'll also give you a clue as to who really runs the world, because they used to run it back then and they were openly blatant about it. And then there's the second document you need to read. It's a little document called the Declaration of Independence. And what I want you to pay particular attention to is the opening statement. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal, that all men are created equal. Okay, so this statement was made by I'm sorry, I'm watching my dog, he's swimming. This statement was made by white Christian male landowners, wealthy slave owners. So, see? By the way, I'm doing this from Mexico, where I actually have freedom. The most freedom I've ever had as an American citizen has been down here in Mexico. See my other video about freedom from cops. That's part of why. Okay, so this statement was written by people who were wealthy, landowning, slave-owning, Christian, white males. And they said, we hold these truths to be self-evident. In other words, hey, duh, everybody knows this. All of us white, rich, slave owner guys are equal. God made us all equal. Equal to each other, but not to anyone who wasn't white, wealthy, Christian, landowning, slave owner. And if you don't believe me, go and read and do some research and come back and tell me who had the right to vote in this democracy that was the United States at its inception. Voting rights were not defined by the U.S. Constitution. They were defined by individual states. And no state allowed anyone who was not white, who was not Christian, who was not male, who was not a property owner, and who was not a taxpayer to vote. So those were the people who were created equally. Everyone else was a fucking slave. An unperson, as George Orwell put it. So let's flash forward to today. Who is in charge? Who gets all the benefits of the United States Constitution, the United States justice system, the United States economy? Who gets all the benefits of the United States? Wealthy, white, sometimes black now, male, Christian, at least they say they are, landowning or corporation owning, wealthy people, slave owners. Well, they're not slave owners anymore, are they? What do you think you are? Just because there's not a document that says you're owned. Although I think the Constitution pretty much spells that out. Then you're not an American. I think this is important to understand. I think it's important to understand that America was made for rich, white, landowning, slave-owning men. And that if you aren't a rich, white, slave-owning, Christian male, you're not an American. I am white. I was born into a Christian family. I am male. my family owned land. Well, actually, the bank owned it. We were paying the bank to say we could own it. So, was I an American? Fuck no! Fuck no! I was not allowed to be even part of my own family, much less the culture. So, there we have it. There's a white Christian, well, born a white Christian landowning male, who wasn't even allowed the privileges of his own family. Because he wasn't what? Because he wasn't a psychopath. Now, what is a psychopath? Well, see former description. White, male, Christian, landowning, privileged, and doesn't give a fuck about anybody else but themselves. So, what we have is a nation founded upon what I've described as the disease process, where people who think they're better than everyone else rule everything and everybody. And I fucking hate Motorola and Google for fucking telling me and you that my battery's low on charge. I know this. I don't need the whole fucking world to know this on YouTube. Thank you, Motorola, for making gadgets that are shit. Thank you, every corporation, for making shit that's shit. Because we're just here to be your slaves, aren't we? Because we're not landed gentry. We're not powerful white males. And you know what's really pathetic about all that? What's really pathetic about that is whiteness is a genetic defect. Just like a white horse. There's no such thing as a white horse. They're actually gray. White horse would be dead. It's a small w in that gene. It expresses as dead horse because they're white. So an inbred race of psychopaths created a nation, called it the United States of America, and pulled the wool over fucking everybody in the world's eyes until today. And you have now a world that is being destroyed because of this nation and its ideals. Where was oil discovered and exploited first? Was it in evil Russia? Or how about sinister China? No, it was right here in the United States, up there in the United States of America. So, you have today 240th anniversary of the biggest fraud perpetrated upon the human species. Now, I don't fucking care if you don't believe me. This isn't to tell you what the truth is, okay? I cannot tell you the truth. No one can tell you the truth. They can tell you something that happens to be the truth, but they cannot tell you the truth. Why? Because the truth is something you discover for yourself. Unless you discover for yourself or verify for yourself, you do not know shit. You are trusting someone else. You are a slave to someone else's knowledge because you do not possess that knowledge of your own. You just trust someone else. Because nothing is shit unless you verify it yourself. So I want you to go out and read. I want you to go find out what the voting rights were for people in the United States of America after it was first created. Hint, it's a little article called Voting Rights in the United States on Wikipedia. It's a good start. Or anywhere else. Don't believe me. Go to the Smithsonian, the Library of Congress. Spend about 3 weeks doing some research there to find out what all the voting rights were. Oh, how about this one? There's a really good article by Finney and Cunningham out right now about the protection racket on the Korean Peninsula. And talks about what happened after World War II when the United States installed Japanese-leaning leaders in Korea. This is the nation the United States dropped nuclear bombs on because we were so against their ideology. And yet we took their ideologues, their leaders, and put them in charge of another nation, next to China. A really big nation that was what at the time? A fucking protectorate of the United Kingdom. Jesus Christ. Oh, man. Well, it was Hong Kong anyway. Yeah, you know, learn your history, folks. Go learn your history. Don't trust me. Obviously, I can't be 100% accurate. So go learn your fucking history. Go learn what the United States is really all about. Go learn what you're lighting off fireworks for and watching people burn. Well, we know what you're lighting off fireworks for. You want to fucking get off on pyrotechnics. That's fine. But if you're going to say that you're doing it to celebrate the United States, you might consider doing a little research on what you're actually celebrating. Because what you are actually celebrating is your own slavery and the enslavement of every other human being and every other fucking species on this planet. And the planet itself. So if you can do all this research, and you can find that there's still something to celebrate, then I would say you're a fucking white, rich male, landowning, slave-owning, voting, perfectly well represented by the United States, and thus should be fucking killed. Because otherwise, you're not an American citizen. You're an American subject. And this is not a celebration of 240 years of freedom. This is a celebration of 240 years of fraud and enslavement and the destruction of this planet and everything human and natural. So, happy 240th United States of America.